You're listening to Your Superpowered Mind on the Superpower Up podcast, the show that investigates the innate power within your brain to create lasting change.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Your Superpowered Mind. I'm your host, Kristin Maxwell. And in this show, we explore the process of transformation and give you tools and strategies that you can use to transform your own life. Today, we are going to be exploring how to build success through kindness. Our guest today is Jill Lublin. She is an internationally renowned speaker and author of 4 best-selling books, including The Profit of Kindness. As a master publicity strategist and CEO of a strategic consulting firm, Jill has worked with over 100,000 people and businesses to help them get more visibility in the marketplace. Jill, welcome to Your Superpowered Mind.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here with you.
My first question is always, what superpower did you uncover as a result of mastering your mind?
I think besides honestly being smart from the time I was a kid, which I think is a superpower, intuition and the ability to discern was actually quite helpful. I consider that a superpower.
I definitely would too. Tell me a little bit more, like how has your intuition showed up?
I think honestly it's something that's really been, what would I call it, cultivated, that I've learned to really honor it and to grow into it, to support with really listening to it. Because, and I think this might be true of other people who grow up and get rewarded for being smart, because in my family, I actually was the first one to go to college and graduate. And, that was a big accomplishment in my family, and go on to law school for a short time. So all of that was big accomplishments. And I think because of that, interestingly enough, other parts of me may have gotten slightly forgotten about or not cultivated, including the spiritual, creative side of me, the highly intuitive side of me, all of that part, right? And so that's the pieces that I've more cultivated. And I think really just becoming aware that, I'm intuitive, and really acknowledging that and supporting myself for it, meaning listening to it.
Right. And what I'm asking you this, because I think a lot of people, there's not very much emphasis on intuition in our culture. We learn how to, think and reason, and we're not taught to really think and sort of feel into situations and know it. So does it come for you like as a knowing? Is it a feeling in your body? I guess I'm just for those who have no idea what intuition is. Well, how does it show up?
I think for me, it shows up in a couple ways. I'll hear something at times about something that I'm thinking about. I will at times pray for an answer, and just wait and reflect. I will sometimes be given a feeling in my body. I might have a constriction or a tightness that tells me, no, this isn't going to be easy or fun. And just trying to listen. The truth is it comes in different forms and in different ways. And that's fine. I think that's important to honor the different ways. But what I do know is you will have whispers, you will have feelings in your body, in different parts of your body. Some people talk about the gut. For me, it's often in the heart, maybe a constriction or feeling of tightness. If it's something that isn't right for me, if it's something that flows, I feel like almost like a joy in my body and smiles in my body. So I think just start paying attention to, this is somewhat of, I think a good test is, how do I feel in my body about this? What happens? And that's a great way to pay attention. How do I feel in my body?
Yes, that is such a critical first step. And actually, how do I feel in my body? Where am I tightness? And what are the emotions? Just recognizing, wow, I'm feeling so stressed right now without even realizing it, just sort of living from that place. So
Yes.
one of the things that I'm really curious. You are hugely successful in strategic consulting for people, and your most recent book is The Profit of Kindness. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. It's interesting because frankly, all my books are business books. My first one, Guerrilla Publicity, is really what I do mostly consulting on and help people in my publicity courses. And then one day I was driving my now 85-year-old friend, who I've helped through her aging process. We've been friends for more than 20 years, and we continue to be friends. And I've helped her a lot and done things like, when she's fallen, I run right over, taken her to doctor's appointments, taken her for lunch and fun things. And I was taking her somewhere one day, and she looks at me and she goes, "You're so kind, and I really appreciate this. And wouldn't it be nice if we had a new kind of currency?" She said, what would happen if we have the currency of kindness? And when you get one of those boing, that when she said that, I went, oh my gosh, that's a great book title, The Currency of Kindness, which then became The Profit of Kindness. And it's about using kindness in your business, in your life, and that by being kind, yes, you can also be profitable. How fabulous is that, right?
Yes.
And that's really what we're out to prove in the book, and we do. A lot of people talk about return on investment, and that's really important, ROI. And instead of ROI in the book, I have ROK, return on kindness principles, rocks. And there are 7 words we use, and we go through them and how to use them in the world. And it's just been really, really helpful. And I think it's, what I noticed when the book came out, I got all over Fox News talking about kindness. Isn't that fabulous? And
yeah,
I got all over, different media talking about kindness, because what I feel and know is that it's such an important piece right now. And that's what's really clear.
Yes. And I want to go more into that, but we are going to have to take a break. So before we come back and talk a little bit more about how we can all build success through kindness, tell listeners where they can learn more about you and your work.
Thank you. Well, go to publicitycrashcourse.com/free gift for a fabulous audio on how to get more publicity. And also please check out JillLublin.com, JillLublin.com.
Great. We have been talking to Jill Lublin, and hang on, and we'll be right back to go a bit more into the process of building success through kindness.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/the-net to learn more.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking about the concept of kindness and how that can help us create success personally and professionally. So, one of the things, as a publicity and a visibility expert, do you see kindness as a way to increase visibility, or how do you work it into that area?
Well, in terms of kindness in my business? Yes. Publicity consulting, for example. Just yesterday, I had a consulting appointment arranged with a client, and she was sick. So, obviously, I'm not going to count her session, although my contract does specify you must show up for all sessions. And, if you miss it, it will count toward your contract. Absolutely. Because I have policies in place. And I think it is important that one have policies in place. And flexibility is one of my return on kindness principles. So, of course, one needs to be flexible in today's world, especially in today's world. And so flexibility as a return on kindness principle is important with your clients, with people in your life, and especially, in today's wild, wonderfully busy world. One must be flexible as an example of kindness in business, right? So,
Right.
one of the things I believe is that, I have rules and policies and contracts, and 80% of the time they work, and 20% of the time they don't. And that's how life is. And so I just think you got to be ready and prepared and know that that's okay to not always, not everything always works perfectly, but we have policies in place to have it work the best we can.
Right. So the thing that strikes me as you talk about them is that you then have to have the ability to let go. You yourself personally to not clamp down on this is the way it should be, or you have to do things that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a piece is one of my other return on kindness principles is compassion, right? And if something's going on, well, then we have to deal with that as well and as compassionately as possible. But I'm running a business, my clients run a business, and it is important to have a focus on what's going to work in the relationship and keep it moving forward.
Right. One of the areas that with a lot of my clients that I find is they may be kind in the world, but they're not kind to themselves. They have this, ongoing expectations and, dialogue in their head, which is anything but kind. Do you deal with that? Do you ever have clients or talk about that in some ways?
Oh, absolutely. The truth is there are many people who aren't that kind. And that's the truth. So with that, what do we do? Well, what do? We do the best we can. We meet the people where they are. There are times where you have to say, that's not okay with me to talk to me like that. And I think that's important, that at times you just have to say that to somebody. I remember a cruise I was on, and there was a woman in the area, in the spa area where most of us were relaxing, and she just was an unhappy customer. And I don't know what happened, and I'm not, it didn't matter to me what had happened, but what I did know was that she was very loud and very obnoxious with demanding, what it is she wanted. And the spa person behind the desk said, I'm really trying to help you, and I'd like you to please lower your voice so that we can figure this out and make it work. Please know I'm trying to help you. I thought that was a great response. It was clear. It was, I am trying to help you, not like, she's dissing her or anything. And, please work with me, right? And don't be so difficult to deal with. And I think at times if people are being like that, you kind of have to go say, listen, you got to work with me.
Yes. And set a boundary. So it's
exactly.
Set this line between being kind and flexible and compassionate, and also saying, okay, we need to make this work, and this is not working. So
exactly.
So you've mentioned flexibility and compassion as some of the principles of the kindness. Do you mind running through what the other principles are?
Sure. Generosity is one of them. Like what can you do to give more? positivity. Especially in today's wild world, like how can we keep remaining positive? And of course, that's important. Connection. What's so fascinating to me is that even though we are, supposedly very connected through social media, I find people, and in Profit of Kindness, we actually found through research that people are craving connection more than ever. Patience, that's really important. Of course, when I was writing the chapter on patience, I found it so funny because I was dealing with AT&T and a major issue that they were putting me through, let me just say. And I'm, calling them and trying to deal with them, and you know how it goes round and round and round. And
yes,
I found myself feeling very impatient. And it's like, okay, this is interesting, literally in the chapter on patience. And, let me just say, I also want to say about kindness is that just because you're kind doesn't mean you don't have firm boundaries, policies and procedures, that you don't roll over and let people treat you, shall we say, inappropriately, that at times you have to say, like even at AT&T, I had to say, listen, this isn't okay with me anymore. I've been through XYZ. I want to talk to a supervisor. And you go, past someone, and at times in a voice that is somewhat commanding, right? You can be that way and still be kind. So I think that's important. I mentioned flexibility, and I particularly noted in Profit of Kindness that kind companies who were flexible with their employees, meaning personal days versus sick days, or letting them do certain projects that they wanted, always had happier corporate cultures. So that was always interesting. And then last but not least is gratitude. One must always be grateful. And that includes for what you have and maybe what's still missing. But really the practice of gratitude is key.
Wow. So now, do you go into companies and actually work with them to sort of institute policies or to change the culture? Or is it more that you've just been working with people individually, business people individually to develop these features?
No, I absolutely go into corporate and wanting to do even more of that. So I'm excited about that, to really help corporate to create cultures of kindness, and that it pays, right? And that's what I'm working with corporations on in particular, is that corporate kindness pays.
And how does it pay?
Because, yes, well,
so I understand.
Absolutely. So what we were able to measure in Profit of Kindness was increased profits with companies who are kind. They continuously had increased profits. They continuously had happier employees, which of course makes for better customer service, which makes for happier customers. So they also had happier customers. They had also more fulfilled, typically, CEOs. And so when you got a culture that's happier employees, happier customers, happy management, you will show, and we continue to show this, increased profit, and just in general, people who are, shall we say, shouting out the rooftops about you, and I love that. So when your customers are, giving you great publicity, that's important. And because I'm a publicity expert, I've definitely seen the complete equation between kindness and publicity, funny enough, because here's a great example. Dignity Health, huge, healthcare company, is going around on buses with a kindness campaign. Honda, the car company, did a kindness campaign through their commercials. Kleenex did a kindness campaign. Hyatt, some of the Hyatts we interviewed, they, interestingly enough, had delegated and gave the freedom to some of the staff there to actually give out spa passes, just as a nice, here, just give this to people who are nice, who you want to. And so can you imagine the happiness of being a Hyatt customer and receiving like a free spa treatment because somebody at check-in gave it to you? Because
Wow.
they were given the power, so to speak. So what this does is empowers employees. And it goes all the way down and up again, because it's so good for the company and so good for revenues.
Wow. Yeah, I could see if you've got happier employees, you're also going to have better retention. And that's great. It strikes me as you're talking about this, that all of this would very well serve families too, the structure of a family, to put these principles in place and to work towards them.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's so good. Listen, this works everywhere. Not only for companies, which of course we want more kindness in the workplace, absolutely, but really also for families. What are you doing in your family structure to be more kind to each other? And listen, let's be honest, it's easy to whiz past, the people in a way you love the most. And it happens, that we do that. And so I think that's really a key, is to in the family have a meeting. How can you be more kind to each other? What can you do to create kindness in that culture called your family?
Right. Yeah. How do you be more flexible and patient and create connection? And so, yes, it's a really interesting idea to purposefully, work towards these values. I like that.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So has it changed your life to have really sort of discovered this currency of kindness? How you live?
Thank you. Well, it's interesting. I think I've always been a nice person, been kind and sensitive to others as much as possible. I mean, I'm also strong and focused, but I do live my life in as much as possible, a kind way, and a sensitive way. And has it made me more kind? Yes. Has it made me more patient? Yes. Especially when I was writing the patience chapter and dealing directly with my own impatience, which
so
is
funny.
Right? That's probably my biggest thing is somewhat impatience, because I tend to be a fast person, fast-paced, and the whole world doesn't often operate that way, right? And sometimes I have to really learn to slow down, to integrate more, and just be, in another person's rhythm, whatever that is. So I just say that because, that's what's true for me. Yes, right. It has absolutely helped me to be kinder. I would tell you my antennas are up for organizations that are doing kind things. In fact, yesterday I was giving a speech at Rotary. Like, I go in and talk to Rotaries. That is not a high-paying speech I give. For me, it's a give back to community leaders who are also giving back, in my opinion. So I love that. But one of the people came up to me and he was telling me about, oh, did you hear about this project in schools and the kindness they're doing? And what's happening now, Kristin, that I'm so excited about is this kindness word has been catching on quite a bit. And what's so exciting is that it's not only catching on quite a bit, but it's really caught fire in a good way, in that people are really talking about kindness. And that is a beautiful thing.
It is. It really is. If we could all, again, I said this would be helpful in the family. It would be helpful in politics, right? in pretty much all organizations.
Yes.
Yes. Focusing on kindness. So what do you do? What do you suggest when you come across individuals who really are not kind and you're trying to encourage them to be kind?
So a couple things. Listen, the truth is some people just aren't kind. You can't force it. What you can do is like the woman in the spa, listen, I'm trying to help you. Could you please? Right? Because sometimes I think people speak in a way that they're not even that conscious of. Maybe they don't mean to be, shall we call it a little mean? And some people are just a little more, mean. Now, what I've decided in my life is I don't necessarily want to be around those kinds of people anymore. If I hear it and see it in a client, I will not usually work with them. I will say things like, it might be better if I refer someone to you, right?
Right.
So I will do certain other things that just, you don't have to say yes to everybody or everything. And, I know we always want to a certain extent, or depending how business is, wow, I should take this client. I just find if I am sensing some things that they're not very kind, I don't want to work with them. And if somebody's, somewhat mean to me, there was somebody I once said to him, he was like saying all these things consistently to me, and we were actually at a workshop, and he was just being mean to me. I can't even explain it. And I think part of it is because I can be so nice, and sometimes people take that the wrong way, if you know what I'm saying. So
right.
I finally looked at him and I said, why are you being so mean to me? Just like that. And I think he was so caught off guard because he didn't realize he was being mean. And he actually acknowledged that. He said, I didn't realize I was being mean. So in his mind, he was just communicating a certain way, right? And I think at times you just have to confront people at time, and say something just honestly about, please don't talk to me like that, or I would prefer if we could talk a certain way, or, just maybe drawing a behavior to their attention, because sometimes people honestly just don't even see it because they're so in their own rhythm and think, a certain way. Sometimes also I think it's just good, you just back away. If you know what I'm saying. If you watch animals, they slowly back away.
Yes.
And I think sometimes you just got to slowly back away and or run away and just go, this is not a good fit. This is not someone I want to work with. This is not someone I want to be around. And you go away. I mean, I've left, I'll be talking to someone or in a group. And if there's someone whose energy is just really someone I do not want to participate with, I will walk away. I don't need to make them wrong. I don't need to tell them they're like seriously off, even though I might be thinking it. I just walk away.
Yes. And this is interesting. It comes back to, this is probably where you use your intuition, that this is somebody that I do not need to have in my life.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And you can make that decision and it's all good, And I think that's really important, that sometimes we just have to make this decision.
Yes. Yes. And I like there are times where we just need to put those boundaries up and say, please do not speak to me that way. Especially if it's somebody that you can't leave, if it's a family member or a coworker where you're sort of stuck with them, but you still need to put a line in the sand. So very interesting. Well, I do thank you so much for sharing your story and the principles of kindness with us. I really think that there's a lot of value in really consciously looking at our lives and seeing where we can add each of these principles, generosity and connection and patience and all of those to our lives.
That's right. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And can you please remind us again where they can learn about you and your work?
Thank you. I've prepared an audio so you can get some cool, fabulous publicity tips. And for that, you can go to publicitycrashcourse.com/free gift. And additionally, go check out JillLublin.com, JillLublin.com, JillLublin.com.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us today. And listeners, thank you again for being here and having an interest in improving your own life and the world you live in. And between now and next time, go out and remember that you do hold the power to change and transform your world.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the superpower quiz today.